I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I'd like to talk about the chart of Lady Gaga because most of all, she's been nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress. What an achievement. You know, when I think about Lady Gaga, I think about all the outrageous outfits she wears. I think one time she had a dress made of meat or steaks. And I often wondered how in the world she can perform in the kind of high heels she had on, because I like to wear high heels, but oh my God, hers were over the top. So she's extremely eccentric. But what I didn't know at the very onset, because her dress, her appearance was so radically off the top, didn't realize how very talented she is. In so many ways, she's a performer. And so I'd like to explain all of these different gifts, attributes, and what she's all about, and even her career success in the future by looking at Lady Gaga's chart. So let me put the chart up here. We have Lady Gaga. She was born March 28th, 1986, and the time that we have her is 9:53 a.m. in Manhattan, New York. Now let me talk a little bit about her ascendant. Her ascendant sign, according to this time, is Gemini. There's been some scrutiny as to whether or not this is her time of birth, but after really studying her chart, I believe this is the one that does work. So with Gemini as her ascendant, this puts Mercury in her 9th house, and her Mercury is conjunct Jupiter. This is an incredibly powerful combination, and it's extremely lucky because the 9th house is considered the house of luck and fortune. And to have these two benefics together, first of all, whenever I see Mercury with Jupiter, it means they have an optimistic outlook, positive reinforcement about the world. Although Mercury and Jupiter, they say that Mercury really does take on the qualities of whatever planet it is with. But it is in the sign of Aquarius, which does make her a bit more serious than thought when you think of Mercury and Jupiter coming together. But in the 9th house, it's allowed her to travel and see the world. The 9th house deals with long distance travels. But it's also the house of spirituality and truth. And obviously, she is a very purposeful, meaningful person, has a real quest for learning the truth and spirituality. And I believe it is very well said in many of her song lyrics that she has a way of uplifting the younger generation, helping them see to core issues, to heal, to find their sense of who they are and their securities. She does have a connection to helping the downtrodden in society. And I feel like through her song lyrics, this is one of her means of uplifting the world through what she believes spiritually. So this is a beautiful combination in her 9th house. And when I think about a performer, an entertainer, which is what she does, I always want to look at the 3rd house and the 5th house. The 3rd house is the house of entertainers, performers, self-expression, creativity, communications. And so when we go to the 3rd house, we find that Leo rules her 3rd house, which Leo, by the way, is the sign of performers. But Leo's ruled by the sun, and the ruler of the 3rd house of entertaining and performing and communications goes to the 10th house of her work and her career. So this means she is an entertainer. And her sun does go to the sign of Pisces, which she is a well-intentioned, meaningful entertainer. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter goes to the 9th house of luck and fortune. So she has had the luck and fortune to be discovered, to be out there with her creativity. But the next house to look at is the house of creativity, which is the 5th house. Remember, the 5th house is actually the house of creativity, though, because it's the 3rd from the 3rd house. So the number 3 is the number, even in numerology, of creativity and talent. So going to the 5th house, which I consider the 5th house being the house of Puva Punya, which means past life good credit that's due in this lifetime. That's a relevant meaning of the 5th house. She has her moon Ketu in the 5th. And notice that her moon being in the air sign Libra, she is extraordinarily talented. Ketu moon. And her moon being in the nakshatra Swati. Swati's all about communication skills and business success. So you can see this moon Ketu is very important. So it means that she has a gift, Puva Punya, of past life good credit in this lifetime, which is her talent. She has an amazing talent. You realize they said that she began playing the piano at age 4. And she could do all sorts of classical music. You know, she has the gift of music. And many, many times I have found Libra to be the sign of musical talent. And particularly the nakshatra Swati, because Swati is ruled by Rahu. And what you will find going to her Rahu is conjunct Venus. She has the Venus-Rahu conjunction in her 11th house of great gains, of groups, organizations, and influential people. She's known many influential people. And she's extraordinarily social with Venus-Rahu in the 11th house. So Rahu is extremes. Venus deals specifically with how we express ourselves in creativity. And what you're going to find is when Rahu is with Venus, this is going to bring out the extremes of creativity and talent. And Venus actually rules fashion, design, creativity, color. And this would account for her extremes in her dress, in her costume. She goes off the top. This is Venus Rahu. And in the sign of Aries, it's very progressive. So you're going to find, though, that Venus Rahu, they're opposed the moon. This can actually represent her relationships being in the 7th house from the moon, which can be very difficult, which can be extremes, which can be a foreign extreme partner. But notice this, that Venus by its opposition is aspecting her moon and her 5th house, her 5th house of creativity. Whenever a planet aspects a house that it rules, it empowers that house for whatever that house is good for, which is what? Creativity. So Venus by opposition is aspecting Libra, which it rules, empowering the 5th house of creativity all the more. And she's got the Venus moon opposition, so Venus and the moon are fully aspecting one another. And this represents that at some point in her career, and especially because Venus is in the 11th house, she will do something meaningful and purposeful to help the causes of women. Now going to her 7th house, this is the house of marriage and relationships. Notice that she has not only Mars in her 7th house, but Neptune. Neptune can deal with miscommunications, not seeing things clearly, fog, confusion, and deceit and denial. And obviously, with Mars being in her 7th house all by itself, this is what we call Kuja Dosha, which represents problems in relationships. Mars is the planet of war. You don't want it in the house of marriage. That's why when Mars is aspecting the 7th house of marriage, it causes problems in marriage. But Mars combined with Neptune, and pretty closely together that they are. This can mean deception in relationships. And not only that, her idea, she has illusions of grandeur in relationships, and what she expects out of relationships is probably way far greater than anyone can deliver. But she puts that person up on a pedestal, saying this person is so perfect. And we know no one's perfect. So she has had a lot of problems and disillusionment in relationships. She's had many affairs, many breakups. This is the Mars-Neptune in her 7th house. And recognize, if you look from the moon, Venus, Rahu go to the 7th house from the moon. And Venus with Rahu all by itself, and especially 7th from the moon, will be attraction to foreigners or those that are very, very different from yourself. One last thing to note, analyzing her chart, is the Saturn being in the 6th house. And Saturn's here in the 6th house. It is with planet Uranus, which would cause some kind of health issues. And Saturn is retrograde. When a planet's retrograde, many times it can reflect some type of health issues in accordance to what the house and the planet refer to. So the 6th house dealing with our health, with our immune system, with our ability to heal. Saturn there with Uranus causes some type of neuroses, some type of health issues. And she has come out and publicly attested to the fact that she has some mental health issues. She has fears, great fears, that are dictated by fearful experiences that have happened before. And not only Saturn being in the 6th house with turbulence of Uranus, but the fact that the moon is with Ketu in the 5th house. Now, we've talked about the 5th house meaning creativity and talent, but the 5th house is also the mind. It is our intelligence. And when you put the moon there, which can be very changeable, with Ketu, very insecure, put it in the house of the mind, this can be the culprit of some of her mental conditions dealing with the deep-rooted fears. But overall, I love the fact that she's got the Mercury, Jupiter in the 9th house. She's going to make it her mission to make a difference in the world and help people through the power of celebrity and her voice in terms of song and her performances. So looking at where she is right now, just thinking about being nominated for an Academy Award, that is unbelievable. So she is in this grand place. Now, I don't know what the charts look like of the people that are going up against her, so I am unable to make a clear, precise prediction whether or not she will win this Academy Award, which is actually at this filming going to go on tonight. Today is the day of the Academy Awards. But transiting Jupiter right now, being in Scorpio, is sitting in her 6th house. It is on her Saturn, which, remember this, whenever Jupiter aspects Saturn, it's always about an opportunity. Opportunity through her work. And at this point in time, Jupiter is casting an aspect to her 10th house, which is her work, her career. And anytime Jupiter aspects the 10th house, it's always aspecting the 6th and the 2nd. That's where Jupiter casts its trines. So the opportunity comes through her work, her career, and financial rewards because of it. This is 6, 10, and 2, the houses. Jupiter is aspecting her Sun in the 10th house, which is her fame, her glory. The Sun in the 10th. She stands above, and she is recognized by the world. while Jupiter is aspecting her 10th house and the sun in the 10th house, this has brought her this great opportunity as a performer, as an entertainer, and nominated for an Academy Award. This is great. Her dasha, though, is not quite as great as you would think all the other things are predicting, because I noticed that she is in the dasha of Saturn and Rahu's Bhukti. Now, Saturn and Rahu, Saturn being in her 6th house means she has worked incredibly hard. That's Rahu in the 6th. And throughout her Saturn Mahadasha, which is a 19-year cycle, she will work tirelessly to achieve her goals. But when I look at Rahu, Rahu is not in the best placement, because it is not where I would imagine that would create this award. So when we're looking at this, please consider that her transits predict there is definitely the possibility that she could win, but her dashas don't reflect this as well. So then we can look at Chandra Lagna. Chandra Lagna means taking the moon as the ascendant. And if you will look at the moon as ascendant, we first noted that the Rahu, Venus are in the 7th house of the moon, intensifying and complicating relationships, I must say. But realize that her Jupiter, Mercury go to the 5th house from the moon. And this further exemplifies her creative talents and her success from her creativity and her writing. Remember, Mercury is all about writing, and the 5th house is about creation, writing books. So this is powerful. But from the moon, the sun in Pisces goes to the 6th house. And I would like to see, more or less, to win this Academy Award, something in the transits coming forth to the 10th house. Not just the 6th house, but I will say this in regard to her possibilities of winning. Once again, from Chandra Lagna, transiting Jupiter, is in the 2nd house from the moon. Therefore, it's aspecting the 6th house, and that's where the sun is, but it's also aspecting her 10th house, and this is vitally important. So from the moon, she still has Jupiter's aspect casting its light to the 10th house, and Rahu, transiting Rahu, being right now in Cancer, is in the 10th house from the moon. Transiting Rahu is transiting the 10th house from the moon, where Jupiter is casting its light, but there are no planets there. I'd say she's got a chance, but still, unless I can look at the opponent's charts, I can't make an exact prediction whether she'll win or not tonight. But I will say this, she's got a strong chance, but I think she will have many more chances with a chart like this, because she has a mission and she has a purpose to develop what she's come here to be through the gift of her talents to help and heal others. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like to learn more about me or get a reading, you can always go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org.org. Or if you would like to learn Vedic astrology, go to my university website, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. And if you would like a written transcript of this, you can go to my magazine, astrologicmagazine.com. There is where we have many astrologers writing fantastic articles, and once a month I put out Who's in the News, and this month is Lady Gaga. So thank you for joining in. Namaste.